What's up guys, it's me, Coach Mills here, and today we gotta break down Valorant patch note 6.0. We got rank resets, map changes, and rotations, and other changes that you really need to know about, so we're gonna break it all down. But especially with the new tournament mode coming, you're gonna wanna be better than ever. So the Game Leap website has everything you need to climb. Breakdowns of esports games, tips and tricks, meta guides, and more. What are you waiting for? Go check it out right now, down below. Now, the first thing that we definitely need to talk about is some gameplay system updates. They reworked the way that guns process zoom inputs for ADS and scopes when using toggle zoom. There should be now fewer cases that can lead to the zoom disagreements between the client and the server under adverse network conditions like packet loss and ping jitter. Additionally, zoom inputs when using toggle zoom can now be buffered earlier than before, and multiple zoom level transitions can be buffered at once. This is just gonna make zooming, ADSing, toggle zooming all more seamless, and especially in situations where you don't have the best internet, it's not going to actually be as bad as it was before. And the ability to pre-buffer multiple zoom levels is definitely going to be a good thing if you're trying to quickly go back to like default zoom or whatever the case may be. Now, next up, we do got the new map Lotus, which is going to be a 3-site map, and it's going to have a variety of rotation options. And it's going to be a Lotus only queue, and that's going to be playable in a swift play mode for 1 week, and then it goes into competitive and unrated map rotation in patch 6.1. Honestly, I think that that's a really good idea for swift play to be the Lotus only mode, because it's the easiest way for new players to try the map, warm up, get to learn the map. I think it's going to have a lot more people playing the map instead of having it to where when it drops into unrated and competitive, there are still people that just haven't touched the damn thing. On top of that, we have Split actually returning, and we broke down in a previous video how Split is getting a rehaul. Still the same Split that we know and love or hate, but it's a bit simpler than before, and I think a lot of the changes are actually good for the map, but mainly I'm just excited to play it because it's been quite a while since Split was removed from competitive. Now remember, with Split coming back into the game, we are actually losing Breeze and Bind. They're going to be removed from competitive and unrated. You're going to still be able to play them in other modes. But yeah, for those of you who these were your favorite maps, I'm sorry, you were wrong. I'm just kidding. But yeah, I can imagine that wants to mix things up a little bit with these maps. Bind, I think that the professional playstyle of Bind or the high scrim playstyle of Bind was a little bit too boring and predictable. There was a lot of rotations that would just happen over and over and over again, and it got a little bit stale. Breeze got stale, unfortunately, because of the chamber meta. Don't necessarily think that that's true anymore, especially with the huge chamber nerfs, but yeah, 2 maps had to go, and if it was one of your favorite maps, better luck next time. I'm just kidding. But we do gotta move on and talk about Omen's dark cover, which now, dark cover placed inside walls will now fall to the height of the nearby ground. One-way smokes are a part of Valorant, but they are difficult to play against, and we want to keep them limited to intentional and understandable areas. We'll be keeping a close eye on how this impacts Omen's power levels. So basically, a lot of one-way smokes for Omen are actually not going to be viable anymore, which is really strange because it changes up a big part of his kit. I do think that having these one-ways are very, very freaking powerful. Being able to one-way a ton of different choke points, a ton of different areas, and the amount of one-ways have only increased as time has gone on and people have learned more and more. I still think that it was a good part of Omen's kit, but I understand that perhaps it was a little bit too powerful on defense and in certain situations, and they want to keep them limited to intentional and understandable areas. I don't necessarily know if I agree with it, but it is the reality, so let me know how you feel about Omen's change in the comments down below. Now, we do need to talk about some competitive updates because they're a pretty big deal. First off, the changes below should make ranked rating gains and losses feel more consistent and reduce the effects stomps have on RR. We'll keep a close eye on the data to make additional adjustments as necessary. Episode reset reminder. A new episode means a ranked reset. Expect your placement rank to be lower than at the end of episode 5, and good luck on your climb. Remember, we reset each episode to kick off the start of the new ranked ladder. This is a chance for players to show off their skills in the new season, as well as reset players in the ladder who may no longer be active. Now, for all players, ranked rating gains and losses will depend slightly more on win-loss and slightly less on the exact round differential of the map. Context. Players experience too wide of RR gains and losses from match to match based on the round differential. One win could give you 12 RR and the next one could give you 20 RR, and we're making this chance to reduce the chance of a swing in RR and gains and losses. Winning is still the most important part of the climb. I actually really like this change because this actually goes along with what they talked about before. In the past, they said winning is the most important thing, but it didn't really feel like that because, like they said, winning by a lot versus winning by a little is very, very different, right? And in one game, you could win by a lot, and it could have been an easy game where you had multiple members of your team do well, whatever the case may be. But in the game that you won by a little, you could have sweated really hard. Maybe you don't have a crazy amount of kills, but you kept your team's mental on point. You played strategically sound. That is a game that really tested you. And you're getting only like 10 or 12 or whatever the case may be, when the other win gave you 20 when it was actually way easier to achieve. You know what I'm saying? Like, all wins should be wins. If you get it, you get the win, that's all that matters. That should be what matters more than anything else, is just the dub. Last up, for players whose ranks are far away from their MMR, RR gains will depend more on individual performance instead of round differential. You should also see your rank and MMR coverage faster. For context, we received feedback that players felt like they would not be rewarded for a good game or punished too harshly for a bad game during their ranked climb. If a player is ranked below their actual MMR, they will be rewarded more for a good game. If a player's rank is above their MMR, they will not be harshly penalized if they lose, but perform well in the match. Now, I think specifically those two, rank gains and losses and the not penalizing you from having your rank far from your MMR, those are going to be overall good changes that the majority of the player base is going to like, although they're not going to be like as on the nose. You're just going to kind of feel them behind the scenes, and it's going to be a more enjoyable experience. Now remember, with this new rank reset, things are going to be pretty crazy at the start, so just keep that in mind for those of you who want to grind. It's going to be absolutely mental. And yeah, it's always super, super mental at the start of a new episode. Speaking of which, we have a ton of new information about what agents are actually going to be meta in a chamberless world, because actually, spoiler alert, Chamber is not seeing a lot of pro play, and there are a ton of new characters that are all of a sudden viable. As a little sneak peek, we have Killjoy at a 70% pick rate in the North American Challengers League. And this is actually without Binder Breeze being removed or taken out of the rotation, which are not Killjoy maps. So we're actually entering, somehow, a Killjoy meta. I don't even know how that freaking happened. And Chamber only has a 3% pick rate. So things are actually moving around like crazy, but we're gonna break down all the intricacies of this because there's so many different movers, and we can also speculate what's gonna happen with the new maps. So yeah, make sure you smash that like and subscribe so we can break it all down, and go to the Game Leap website for tips, tricks, and everything you need to absolutely dominate the new episode and the new act reset. If you really wanna climb, or if you want your shot at Ascension, you need to get good and quickly. So go check it out right now down below.